The hidden secret as to why China and the US are both investing heavily into Africa, and believe me, as much as I love the United States here, it's not from the goodness of their heart. Then I give a thumbs up to Donald Trump's Day One initiative to Israel to regain its hostages, followed by a thumbs down to Meghan Trainor and her recent Botox comments. Then I finish up with introducing you to two of the most kind-hearted human beings on the entire planet right now. All here on The Bullock today, so let's do it. The mainstream news is so corrupt.
This is unbelievable.
This is wild.
No one is talking about this.
The shootings are just out of control right now.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
President Biden visited Africa this week, which brought some attention to a continent that is in much need for an intercontinental transit system. The purpose was to highlight the Libido Corridor Railway, where the U.S. and many other countries are heavily investing their resources to help bring 800 miles of train lines through Zambia, Congo, and Angola, with hopefully in the years to follow to fully connect Eastern and Western Africa. A project intended to drastically lessen the amount of time exporting and importing goods from Europe and the US and other parts of the world to Southern Africa. For example, cargo in trade between South Africa and the US would typically be driven by trucks and take about 45 days, which with this new infrastructure would only take less than 48 hours. The US's investment here is about $4 billion, along with multiple different European banks and African banks. The project is heavily Western-led, however, which poses an obvious threat to a country that's already heavily invested in Africa, which would be communist China. It's no secret that the US and Europe just happen to finance an infrastructure project in a region in Africa rich in cobalt, copper, and other critical minerals used for the creation of batteries in electric vehicles, electronic devices, and other technology devices. I'd love to say that this project is being done by the goodness of the heart of the U.S. government, but I think you would know better, and I am no liar. It's a good deal for those South African countries, however, right now at least, as it'll boost jobs in the immediate future, along with the economy. The leaders of Zambia, Angola, and the Congo can probably comfortably enjoy extending their power in office for longer because of it. But this does put the U.S. on a collision course with China as its influence and investment has grown significantly in Africa over the years, and I'll tell you why. You can pretty much call them the economic leaders in the continent as of now when you consider their overseas investments. As of now, China has already invested over $253 billion in Africa, and as of last month, China committed to investing another $51 billion over the next 3 years in the continent. For many countries they are investing in, such as Kenya, these investments create good roads, railways, and infrastructure that will boost their economy and turn them into an African powerhouse. But at a cost. They will also sacrifice their influence they have in their own country to China in the process, as China is also not doing this out of the kindness of their heart, no matter how they try to sell it and no matter how the U.S. tries to sell it. So a major win in the short term for these countries, but in the long term, they could very easily turn into the left and right arms of the Communist Party and of the Western allies. A very sad feature, actually, if you think about it, that these countries in Africa who hold the world's storage bin for its natural resources are having to outsource its export and selling opportunities to the exact same buyers that they could be making a fortune off of. To better understand why China's investment so much cash into Africa, you need to know this. These African nations could probably almost have their own monopoly one day in the world of manufacturing and dominate the industry, as everyone clearly knows that China leads the world of manufacturing by twice the amount of any other country, sitting at 31% of the world's total output. But if you look closer, all of China's resources are born in Africa. Minerals are dug out from Africa, created into products in China, and then sold as goods into the United States. the world's manufacturing triangle that you maybe have never known about. Now over to thumbs up and thumbs down. We give a big ol' thumbs up to DJT here.
Thumbs up, average Joes can play.
Thumbs up to Donald Trump as claiming that there will be hell to pay if Israel hostages still in Gaza are not released prior to his inauguration in late January. The war between Israel and, let's be honest, those who hate Israel, which is basically the entire Middle East, has begun to drag on after Hamas committed an overnight genocide on Israel back on October 7th, 2023. As of last month, there were still 97 Israel hostages still accounted for in Gaza since the attacks over a year ago, and I think at this point, everyone's tired of the fighting in the Middle East and in Europe, along with the insane funding that's been shipped overseas from the U.S. to help fight both wars. Now, a thumbs down to Meghan Trainor here. Thumbs down to Meghan Trainor as she recently revealed that she can no longer smile as she's used too much Botox and now has to have more plastic surgeries in the future to fix it. A sad story here, honestly, but the thumbs down really goes to her response here, as I quote her saying, "Someone convinced me with my little lips that if you did a lip flip, you put a filler right above your upper lip, that you could have a beautiful flip on your upper lip. And I couldn't have one for the first time in my 30 years of living." But it was not true, she said. Now to start, thumbs down because she blames someone else for convincing her to use Botox on her lips. And then thinks using the victim card here to play it off, it's pathetic. You're only 30 years old, Meghan, and you're beautiful. Why are you using Botox throughout your 20s? It's insane. I hear about this all over the place down here in Miami, and if you're using Botox before the age of 30, you should see a psychiatrist because that's absolutely insane to start using fillers and surgeries in your peak beauty years, that is your 20s, because the whole point of Botox and fillers was to make it look like you were in your 20s. So by using that, it's like a double negative. Now to my history buffs here, this segment is for you and one of my favorites. So over to this day in history now.
Which specifies the unconditional surrender of Japan.
The president has been shot.
This day in history, 60 years ago in 1964, the very first Medal of Honor for actions in Vietnam was awarded. Captain Roger Donlin of New York was awarded the prestigious award as he led his special forces in a mountain outpost near the border of North Vietnam. As 2 a.m. in the morning approached, droves of Viet Cong soldiers attacked the camp, where Donlin was shot in the stomach along with being wounded 3 different times, manning a mortar and continuing an onslaught of engagements with the enemy while refusing medical attention. The night was a bloody one. It included 154 dead Viet Cong soldiers, 2 Americans, and over 50 South Vietnamese soldiers. Later on that year, Lyndon Johnson presented Donlin with the Medal of Honor in front of the remaining 9 Special Forces soldiers still alive from that very same team. Now, this negative world we live in, it's time to bring some good news here to warm us up a bit. So good news, here we go. Now, an amazing story here as Larry and Kelly Peterson met each other when they both were just 10 years old at Spina Bifida camp, which is something they both share, where they also discovered they were both born on the same exact day as well. After being high school sweethearts, the couple eventually got married and decided to raise a family through adoption, as Kelly, unable to physically give birth, was nudged that she probably also wouldn't be able to adopt due to her condition. Spina bifida is a condition that occurs when the spine and spinal cord don't develop properly in the womb, significantly affecting mobility along with possibly other effects. Adoption agencies are hesitant during these circumstances to approve an adoption request. Through a special needs adoption agency, though, the couple discovered a baby named Hadley, who is also suffering from spina bifida. And also, Hadley has 22q deletion syndrome, which is a chromosomal disorder that results in poor development of several body systems, including heart defects, poor immune function, and low calcium in the blood. Although there is no cure, treatments can usually address the most critical health concerns. The couple was able to adopt Hadley and now has a happy family. Larry and Kathy are some of the most kind-hearted humans on the face of this earth, and I will absolutely be updating the story on them and Hadley's progress from following their Facebook page called Journey Down a Country Road. Spina bifida and adoption equals our family. Now, your daily news podcast, The Bullock, is out Tuesday through Thursday at 5 p.m. I will be back here next week on Tuesday for another episode of Your Bullock, and I will see you then.
News and factual material are deeply researched through confirming the validity of multiple sources by the broader media landscape across the global sector and the digital world. All statements are a combination of primary and secondary research components geared towards providing the only news show and video and podcast form that provides a clear understanding of important world issues that are being left out by the completely biased and politically driven global media machine. Thank you for listening.